Although suicide terrorists had been loading vehicles with explosives and ramming them into buildings for decades, this was the first time that hijacked airplanes had been successfully deployed for such an assault. This statement by Stephen Holmes from Al-Qaeda, September 11, 2001, Making Sense of Suicide Missions, explains the significance of the attack on 9/11. Due to the severity of the outcome, the significance of using the hijacked planes, and the unexpectedness of the attack, there's been a lot of research done on this topic. So today I'll inform you about what 9/11 was, who the key operators were in the attack, and how September 11, 2001 impacted the world today. So what was the attack on 9/11? There were 4 attacks. In Pentagon 9/11, Alfred Goldberg states, Osama bin Laden chose 4 targets: the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center, the 3rd the Pentagon, the 4th and highest value target selected, presumably the White House or the Capitol. So this attack happened in Manhattan, New York, and as you can see, the North Towers were hit first, and then while people were watching, the South Tower was hit next. And there's 2 possible reasons for this. The first one is by Stephen Holmes, and it says, operated inside the Islamic belief system, Coburn claims, the terrorists interpreted the United States' great skyscrapers as an affront to God, as a refusal to submit to God, or even as a supremely blasphemous attempt to become God. So this is saying that there is a religious reason behind the attack. The next possible reason he states is the Twin Towers could have been targeted simply as a symbol of the United States. To attack them was to attack the United States in effigy. So he's saying that the towers were a big symbol, they were really tall, and that he knew that when they attacked them, it was going to cause Americans to be scared. So shortly after the Twin Towers were hit, the Pentagon was hit, and Pentagon 9/11 provides many details about this attack when Alfred Goldberg states, after the nose of the plane hit the Pentagon, a huge fireball burst upwards and rose 200 feet above the roof. Multiple explosions occurred as the plane smashed through the building. So as you can see, this was a very detrimental attack, but it didn't cause too many deaths, unlike the attack on the Twin Towers. The fourth attack actually failed. As stated by Alfred Goldberg, a 4th attack and highest value target was selected, presumably the White House or the Capitol, escaped the attack when the hijacked plane destined for it crashed in Pennsylvania. So this plane was thought to be going to the White House or the Capitol, but they're not sure because it crashed before it got there. And the passengers on board actually took over the plane and helped it not reach its targeted destination. You might be wondering who the key operators were in these attacks, and there were 2 of them. In the book, The Ground Truth, The Untold Story of America Under Attack on 9/11, mentions that these terrorist attacks were planned by 2 men meeting in a cave in Tora Bora, Afghanistan, in the mid-1996s to discuss potential attacks against the United States. The success of the plane operation they would mastermind nearly 5 years later seemed anything but inevitable. The 2 men were Osama bin Laden and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. So John Farmer is saying where the 9/11 attack was planned and by who. So first is Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, also known as KMS, and he's more unknown than the other one, Osama bin Laden. And John Farmer also states, according to the 9/11 Commission, KMS's animus towards the United States stemmed not from his experiences there as a student, but rather from his violent disagreement with the U.S. foreign policy. So KMS is saying that he chose to attack the United States because he disagreed with America's foreign policy. And then paraphrased from the same book, they mention his background with terrorism, and Khalid played a small role in another attack on the World Trade Center in 1993, and he also planned the Bojinka plot, which was the bombing of airplanes. And then after this, he went to Afghanistan, where he started planning 9/11 with Osama bin Laden. So this was obviously not the first terrorist attack he took part in. And then next, we learn a little bit why Osama bin Laden chose to get involved when KMS invited him to the cave. And John Farmer states, bin Laden came to see the United States as the head of the snake, the source and support for both Israel and the corrupt Middle Eastern governments against which he struggled. And beyond this, the source of evil and corruption of the world. John Farmer saying that he chose to accept the invitation because he was upset with how the U.S. was treating Israel in the Middle East. Now that you know who was behind the 9/11 terrorist attacks, I'll talk about the effect these attacks had on the United States. How did 9/11 impact America? Well, it impacted people across America in many different ways. One way it impacted America is the emotional toll it had on people, and this is evident when Hannah Hardig and Carol Doherty list statistics in the article 2 decades later, the enduring legacy of 9/11. Our first survey following the attacks went into the field just days after 9/11. From September 13th to the 17th, 2001, a sizable majority of adults, 71%, said they felt depressed. Nearly half, 49%, had difficulty concentrating, and a third had trouble sleeping. These statistics prove that Americans felt very different emotionally after the attack. They felt very depressed, unconcentrated, and had trouble sleeping. And not only did people feel different after the attacks, but they felt different while they were happening. And paraphrase from Hannah and Carol, many people felt sad while they were watching them, unsettled and scared, and also angry about why the attacks were happening. And so along with people feeling emotionally different after 9/11, many people changed their public opinion as well. Hannah Hardig and Carol Doherty also state, patriotic sentiment surged in the aftermath of 9/11. After the U.S. launched airstrikes against the Taliban and Al-Qaeda forces in early October 2001, 79% of adults said they had displayed the American flag. This is showing how people felt very different patriotically after 9/11 and felt more brought together towards America. Another way 9/11 was impacted by the world is how it changed people's views on Muslim and Sikh Americans. The article 9/11 Terror Attacks, 2 decades later, Sikh Americans, Muslim still being racially profiled, shows this when Sunita Sarabji declares, in the days following September 11, 2001, terrorist attacks which killed an estimated 2,977 people, Muslim and Sikh Americans were viewed with hostility and suspicion and became targets of hate. So it's saying that after 9/11, a lot of Muslim and Sikh Americans were targeted because of their ethnicity, which was similar to the terrorist ethnicity. And the same article by Sunita Sarabji states, she noted that hate crimes against the community spiraled from just 20 in the year 2000 to over 400 a year later, with many hate crimes going unreported. This is showing the dramatic increase of hate crimes after the attack of 9/11. So as you can see, there are many ways the world was changed after 9/11. Now, you now know more about what 9/11 was, who the key operators were in 9/11, and the lasting impact 9/11 left on the world. As said in Inside 9/11, What Really Happened, significant days in history are like turning points of fate. People remember them for years and even decades later, telling each other what they were doing, where they were going, and thinking at a specific moment in time. 9/11 will remain a significant day in history for years to come. Thank you.